because they made that rule, I had to talk to the company commander, and he's like, hey, John, I know your team doesn't want the shot, but what's it going to be? Are you guys going to get the shot, or are we going to have to pull the deployment from you?
This episode is brought to you by Elevated Silence. As you guys know, here at Shoot Me Straight, we are huge advocates of the Second Amendment and exercising those rights. And there's no better way to exercise those rights than going to the range with the best suppressor that you can buy, which is why Elevated Silence is the sponsor for this podcast. I've been using their product now for years. This is my favorite can here that I use on my Noveske rifle, and I have had no issues with it. And I get comments every time I go to the range or put on a course just how quiet this suppressor is. Another reason why I love Elevated Silence is they're constantly innovating their product, trying to make it better. They have these new 30 cal cans, which can handle any caliber up to 300 Norma. And they are now working on cans for EDC carry. And what I love most about this company is not only the man that stands behind the company, Jim Hood, who is a true patriot, but the fact that he is always trying to elevate your experience at the range, because nobody likes going to the range unsuppressed. So check out Elevated Silence and go to the range and shoot like a gentleman.
Hey, welcome back to Shoot Me Straight with Eddie and Dave. Unfortunately, Dave is unable to join us today because life stuff. His wife is working, so he has all the kids. So he could not make it into the studio, but we will try to manage without him. Today, we have an awesome guest, one that we've been sort of anticipating for and want you on for a little while now. You're local, John Frankman. You are a former captain in the U.S. Army, Green Beret. And what I do know about you, which, it's a proud thing, is that which unfortunate, but at the same time, I'm glad that you fought it, was you were forced out because you refused the vax, right?
Yep.
During the whole pandemic, which everyone seems to have forgotten about.
Right, moved on, yeah. Biggest infringement of rights. Let's just move on.
Yeah, let's just
nothing
move
to see
on from
here.
that.
Yeah.
Let's all forget about it. It's like, no, that is definitely something that should not be forgotten about and should be talked about for a long time. I do think, eventually, I hope they do some kind of study or whatever going back to that time and just see like how duped this country got and how all of our rights were violated and how we just let that happen.
100%. And it was even more frustrating for me as a Green Beret, where we're taught to overthrow other countries, unconventional warfare, using psychological operations against other countries, yet not seeing what's happening in our own backyard. So absolutely infuriating, but hey, it's been a journey.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you're doing what any good warrior would do is you're continuing the fight. And now you are running for Congress.
Running for Congress right here, Florida's 1st District, the most veteran-dense populated district in the country. We have more veterans here than anywhere else in the country. It's amazing.
This is true, yeah. Which was surprising to me when I moved here from San Diego, just coming out. I mean, I did some training out here, but had no realization just how heavily populated this area was with veterans, because we have obviously 7th groups here, Hurlburt, Eglin.
Yeah, NES Pensacola, Hurlburt, Eglin. You have Ranger School, which is my first trip down here to Whiting Field. So a lot of great places.
So I want to go back just a little bit and just sort of talk about your past and, the reasons why you went the route you did into the Army. Did you go to West Point?
I did not. I went to the prep school, and then I was like, I think I want to go to college.
Yeah.
So went to Wheaton College, did ROTC, and from there, kind of a weird journey. I was studying to become a Catholic priest, so I thought God was calling me to the priesthood. I converted to Catholicism in high school, and thought God was calling me to the priesthood. So from commissioning, I went on an educational delay to be a chaplain. And for Catholic priesthood, it takes 6 years if you already have a college degree. It might be a little bit more now because they changed the program up. So did 2 years of philosophy, and then it's 4 years of theology. I did 2 years of theology. So after 4 years, discerned that was not what God was calling me to do. But originally after commissioning, the plan was to be a chaplain in the Army. After telling Cadet Command, hey, I'm not going to finish, I'm not getting ordained, I was branched to active duty infantry. Yeah, so
that is
I probably
so
should have prepared
Army
you
right
for
there.
that curveball there.
Yeah, hey guys, I guess I'm not going to be a priest anymore. It's like, great, we'll send you to the
Oh, it was my top choice when I was in ROTC. I put infantry. I still had to put my top branches up. So I put like infantry, armor, and ordnance with the idea of EOD. I definitely wanted combat arms.
Okay, cool.
You know, just like
I was wondering, I'm like, are they just like, okay, you're not being a priest. We're just going to send you to the front lines.
No, they respected my older choices. And it's funny because the perspective then is I'm leaving the seminary at 27. I thought, man, I'm too old for Ranger school. How am I going to do this? But now I'm 37. I'm like, dude, you're out of your mind. Like, it's 27.
Oh, like looking
you're still
back,
fresh.
Yeah,
you're still
for
got
sure.
It.
Yeah, your body can still handle it. I want to jump back just a little bit. You said that you converted to Catholicism in high school. So to me, that's kind of like, that's a mature decision to make at a early age like that. What sort of brought you to that, to convert to Catholicism?
I was extremely blessed my whole life to always believe in God. And one of the difficulties, my parents divorced. They separated when I was 6, divorced when I was 9. And as difficult as that was moving around, my mom moved us to various schools, areas. Dad lived in LA most of my life, mom on the East Coast in the DC metro area. And I was taking to church about once a month with her, but always prayed to him on a daily basis, knew he existed, knew he loved me, and just maintaining that relationship helped kind of, my dad, he loves me, amazing man, but him not being present in the house, able to kind of substitute God as Father and really lean into that in a much greater way from some of the absence and that difficulty. And it was that prayer life, going to church on a regular basis. Lived with my dad when I was 12 because I got tired of moving around with my mom. He was a bit more stable. He took me to a Presbyterian church on a weekly basis, which was good for me. I knew I was doing better in school, sports, just life, generally happier. And then having that autonomy when I get back to live with my mom, started looking around at churches a little bit more. And my mom, working for a Catholic school as a special ed teacher, then had a discount. So went to a Catholic school, loved everything the religion teacher was teaching me, went to Mass, and there was some spiritual element to the Mass that I hadn't encountered in any other church whatsoever. I was going to an Episcopal church before, but just that Catholic belief of the Eucharist being the actual body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ, of having that kind of supernaturally charged liturgy. And it wasn't so much intellectual, even though I'm a pretty intellectual person. I mean, you're only 15. What do you know, right? And that's what kind of drew me into Catholicism. Not so much intellectually formed, hey, this is the one true church established by Christ, which I kind of understand now, but more so, hey, I think this is the right option for me to grow closer to God. So let me just pursue that on a personal basis. And it was from there that I had some thoughts about the priesthood kind of coming up.
Dude, that's, like I said before, that is a super mature decision to make at 15 years old. Because I was raised, I was raised Catholic. My dad was a strict Irish Catholic. And he was West Point grad. So we grew up all over the place, and mainly in Asia growing up. And so it doesn't matter where we went, we would find a Catholic church on Sunday and go. I mean, it was like that strict. We'd be in the middle of China somewhere, and he would somehow find it. But yeah, I just know growing up Catholic, I think if you're born into it and you're sort of like, you grow up in that, you don't have the same, the outlook that you did, right? You're like weighing out different, what's right and what's wrong. Or not what's wrong, but like what best fits you. Yeah. That's why I'm amazed, because at my age it was just like, hey, it was force fed to me. And that's like, this is what I do. And even with all of the Catholic practices, I mean, even stuff that you don't even think about growing up with, kneeling, standing, all the stuff that you do in church. Like, I had no concept of like why. It was just, this is what I do. Sure. And hold on one second, real quick. Somebody's peeking in.
Oh, you're good. No,
yeah. But yeah, I just think, like for me, like you remind me a lot of my little brother. And that's a good thing. He's an intellectual. He's a thinker, and he's always like thinking deeper into things. And so, just hearing your story and talking about when you're 15, thinking about what's best for you. And then also my brother was going to be a priest as well.
Oh, did he enter the seminary?
Nope. He went, I don't forget what sort of changed his mind. He lived in a seminary with a priest, so he was able to live there for a long time.
Was that in high school?
No, he was going to Villanova.
Okay, got it.
So he went to Villanova, and then I think it was afterwards he was still contemplating being a priest, and he lived in the seminary, but then I think he ended up changing his mind.
Some dioceses and religious orders have houses of discernment where a guy who might be more seriously discerning lives at that house, or if it's the religious order Villanova is associated with, lives with them while they're kind of figuring out. So kind of like a soft novitiate kind of thing, but that's cool that he explored that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that you even explored it too as well. That's a huge huge step, to like go in that direction. Which I guess it's the same premise if you're going to then go be a Green Beret or join the military, because it's a lifestyle choice that you're about to make.
Yeah, and I mean, God uses all of that for all the challenges that we have in the future. I mean, everything I learned through converting to Catholicism, through seminary, through discernment, I felt really helped me make that decision when it came to the COVID shot. I think is really going to help me make decisions, God willing, if I get elected into office, to not just read bills, not just look at the political win, but really deeply pray about issues and then come to the best conclusion from that.
Yeah, I think that we just had a guest on, Jamie. Oh man, it'll be coming out here. We did it last week, but pretty much he was a law enforcement officer and then ended up working for the state, went over to Iraq, brought his family. But the reason they chose him to go to Iraq, and he sort of like what he does is brings people together. He's a problem solver, but he does everything in the manner that you just talked about. He's like, I don't approach problems in the typical fashion that, law enforcement teaches us, or, whatever institution that he's working for teaches. He's like, I approach it through faith, through God, and like, what would God do in this situation? How would he bring these two, individuals or these two organizations that hate each other together? And this guy has like done everything from had drug dealers kind of like, hey, I'm no longer doing this. He's cleaned up neighborhoods. He had gang members come together and sort of shake hands. I mean, he's doing it with like, I think he's brought police departments and Black Lives Matter together. And like, hey, but he does it all through.
Yeah, just like a faithful faith-based perspective. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, it works, and so I think if you continue on that path, I'm hoping, just like we do with every candidate that wants to go up to the snake pit. It's like, dude, you want the best for them, but you realize where you're going to is evil. It's run by evil.
Well, and one of the prayers that I have to make regularly is, God, if this isn't going to be good for my soul, if this isn't going to be good for my salvation or relationship with you, don't let it pass. Like, I want to glorify him in it. I want to work for my salvation, the salvation of others. And I might feel called to run. I might think this is exactly where God wants me or needs me to be. But just that understanding that, it might be bad. And knowing that there are temptations there, that there is wickedness, crookedness, things of that nature. And just having a proper, humble idea of your own humanity, your own sinfulness, and the places you can be tempted. Like, if that's not good for you, hey, let's step away from it.
Yeah.
Or God just closed the door for me because I'm too stubborn to figure it out.
No, I think if you're going into that with that headspace, then you are going to make I'm praying that you will make some good change.
Thank you.
And then you're also protected. And that's the one thing I think you should be, and we'll be praying for you, is just protection over you to make sure that all the temptations, all the things that come with that job or being up in that area. Because I've talked to congressmen, I've talked to people running for Congress, and it's the same story each and every time. It's, hey, especially people that won and went up there, and they're like, I went up there with these intentions, and then came to really realize, like, this place is, a snake pit pretty much, where they will lure you in, and then once you're lured in, you're part of the system. So you really have to remain vigilant. I talked to a candidate that I, had a hand in helping out, Steve Toth, who ran against Dan Crenshaw, who won.
Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I was happy to see that.
Yes. I think a lot of people were happy to see that. But I really liked him because he had already been to Congress, did a term there, and then left because he was like, dude, this place is not what I thought it was. But then I had asked him, like, well, why are you going back? You're going back into it. And I think he was like, listen, because I've already been there, I know what it's like. But he's like, the one thing that he does, which he said he did it before and he's going to do it this time, is he has to remain extra vigilant. He's like, I've won now. He's like, I don't if I get invited, he's like, I don't have drinks. I don't drink anymore. I don't do anything to where that they could point the finger at and they'll try and find weaknesses because that's how they exploit you.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you'll be invited to like he's like dinners and this and that. And he's like, I won't go to them. Just because I don't need that affiliation of, he's like, and I don't know who's going to be at that dinner, who they're going to bring. But the way he was explaining to me, I'm like, dude, that it's insane how like if vigilant that you have to be to remain on the up and up on there. And he's like, yes, it's a battle every day to keep your morals, ethics, and everything at a certain level. So, just off of that, I mean, that's why I'm saying, prayer for protection.
Right,
man.
right. Yeah. Well, he'd definitely be a guy to connect with.
Yes,
I'll
definitely connect you with him. I got a couple guys that are Jared Hudson. He's running for Senate in Alabama. Really good guy.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
And
That's
then
great.
obviously you met Pat already.
Yeah.
Who's already up there, so he's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's good people for sure.
I want to go back a little bit into so obviously decided not to be a chaplain,
right?
And then you're going to the infantry. So you were already an officer.
Yeah, so I commissioned through. Well, first I did the prep school for a year. Decided, hey, I don't think this West Point might not be. I was looking for a place where I could grow closer to God and get formed to be a good officer. And so I went to Wheaton College. It's a Protestant evangelical school. I didn't quite understand all the differences, Catholic, Protestant at the time, but it was just good for me. It was intellectually rigorous. It was a great ROTC program, still live a somewhat normal life. And coming from a boarding school in high school for the last couple of years and just moving around, it was just really nice to have a good, more civilian-oriented, also ROTC training kind of background. So loved Wheaton College. But yeah, I went into the infantry after getting out of seminary, which was... good times, yeah.
Yeah, the comparison of like leave, and I've never been to seminary or anything what you're talking about, but I can only imagine I've been in the infantry with the Marine Corps for 4 years. I can only imagine the stark.
There's differences, but there's things in similar, right?
I'm sure.
Have like fraternity. I mean, it's just such a thing where you just have a brotherhood. And I mean, I miss my SF brothers all the time. And that was definitely a sacrifice to make when I left the military because of the shot mandate. But you just enjoy being with the guys. There's just stories you can have in a seminary setting and also in an infantry setting that people just won't necessarily be able to understand or relate to. Just the crazy conflict that you can have between like a PL and a platoon sergeant, or the crazy stories of what happens with guys on weekends. And maybe you get different versions of that in the seminary, but it still is. You're doing something that's bigger than yourself. Guys being guys, but you're doing something bigger than yourself. I mean, the mission in seminary is you're becoming a priest so you can bring people to God and God to people. I mean, I guess in the infantry it's killing people to win wars, but still like for your country.
Yeah, well, there's a sacrifice in that.
Right.
Yeah. So you show up there. Are you immediately a junior officer? Are you immediately put in charge of like, hey, here's a platoon, or how does that work?
Yeah, so with the Army, you do your commissioning source, whether it's ROTC, West Point, OCS, then you go to your branch, and we call our different jobs branches. So I get branched infantry, and sometimes you have branch details where you'll do infantry for a couple of years and then switch to military intelligence. I had just straight infantry, so I go to IBOLIC, Infantry Basic Officer Leadership Course, which is a 16-week course where you kind of work from individual skills to team skills, team live fires, squad live fires, platoon live fires, different levels of FTXs. And it's also a big kind of a Ranger School prep thing because as an infantry officer, you either have a Ranger tab or you have an excuse. Yeah. It's kind of what you say. So it was a good time. I got, was nicknamed the machine gun preacher, given my seminary background, which is pretty fun. But yeah, went from that to Ranger School and then to Airborne. Yep.
Did you feel so you went from that course to Ranger School and then to Airborne and then into a pretty much leadership position?
Then I was a platoon leader in Fort Carson.
So I would imagine after going through all those courses, you were ready. Like
you're better prepared than you think.
Yes, right. At least with the leadership qualities that you need. Obviously, leading men is a whole different animal when you're put in that position, right? Because then you're having to deal with personalities and how do I get these guys to jive together, and how do I get them to focus on one common goal together? I think because I've been to obviously military leadership courses, and I think they do a good job of like, hey, here's the the basics here of leadership, and this is what you should be focusing on. But it really doesn't set you up though for actual, like when you get there and having to deal with
personalities.
Yeah, personalities.
I mean,
that's a whole different ballgame.
Different challenges, and they teach you the tactical side of your job.
Yes.
The other stuff is all just on the job training. I mean, there's just so much on the job training throughout, at least the Army I experienced. 90% of what you spend your time doing as an infantry officer, whether it's a platoon leader, operations officer, a detachment commander in special forces, or operations officer there, isn't necessarily what you focused on when you're in your training.
Yes.
But I mean, obviously the tactical part is the most important, because if you're going to deploy, fight to win wars, and there's just something where if you can just show competence in that area and discipline, then that can transfer to all those other things that you have to do, whether it's the regular sit reps or weekly pictures or whatever other nonsense.
Yeah, admin and logistics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How was Ranger School?
Oh, it was awful. I would do any school before that again.
Oh, yeah?
And I mean, I'll just eat humble pie. I took 5 months there. I recycled. I got through the benning phase just fine. When I got to mountains, I got pretty badly injured. I was diagnosed with stress fractures in both my shins. Mm-hmm. So like if my legs were this big, maybe like, add an inch of circumference to both of them. So I ended up failing patrols in that one, and then medically recycling. So sat for about 6 weeks. So I had my own kind of best ranger recycle. So they have a phase where they have the best ranger competition, where if you recycle right before that, you're sitting for 6 weeks because they're not having any courses go.
Yeah.
So recycled mountains, sat in the mountains for a few weeks, then the cadre went on summer break, then classed up, then down in Florida, recycled that again. But, every rep, I mean, that's like 60, what is that, 63 days, what is it, how many, I'm trying to think how many days of patrolling it is, because you get 10 per mountains, 10 per Florida, so getting like 46 days of patrolling in, I mean, that just is muscle memory. Yeah. So I'll own the mistakes I made, but you learn from that repetition, so.
Yeah.
And then you just gut it out.
And that's, I think that's what people in that line of work are looking for. It's not, hey, you passed everything the first time and everything. Yeah. It's like they're looking to see who can fail and bounce back as well, mm-hmm. and crush it. And I mean, I think that's not talked about enough. I think there's, because I hear guys talk about selection courses and like, oh yeah, I made it all the way through and this is great. And I'm like, that's great. But there's a lot of people out there, I can speak on buds alone, like getting rolled or sent back is a normal thing. Mm-hmm. But what's not normal is getting rolled and then people quitting. It's like they want to see people get rolled and then fight their way back.
Right.
And just basically not give up.
And you just learn so much more from your mistakes.
You do.
Like I'll remember, hey, I had that land nav point picked wrong. I need to do this better next time. Or, in setting up ambush, let me make sure this is done properly. Boom, never going to forget it again because that mistake cost you so much. But that's okay. You just keep powering on.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely learn way more from our failures than we do our victories. That's for sure. So you got Ranger School, finished that out.
Yep. Airborne School.
And then Airborne, I share that with you. I've been to Benning.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Airborne. It's a dirty, nasty leg.
I know.
That was an experience. It's like boot camp.
Well, it was funny because you go through IBOLC where you're just treated kind of like crap because you're sort of like every officer is kind of a private there, right? In some sense, where you're just working with other officers. Your NCOs are training you. Obviously, you outrank them, but they're rating you.
They're your cadre.
Yeah, you're doing what they tell you to do. Ranger School, no rank whatsoever. Everybody's just working. Obviously, the officers get put in senior leadership positions. But then you get to Airborne School, it's pretty funny. The cadre are like, hey, I need 5 bodies over here. The LTs try to walk to go over, like, hey, not you. Privates, get over there.
Yeah.
It was just kind of funny, but they're just trying to instill in them that, hey, you got to work hard. You just have to be willing to step up, volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we showed up there because we go, well, we used to. They don't do it anymore, but it was right out of Buds. So they ship all the Buds students over there, and it just did not mix because we're like, They would try and one treat us like we were privates, which never worked. And then they would be like, okay, well, since we can't control you that way, we'll put you guys in leadership positions here. And it's like, well, now you're putting a bunch of E5s out of Buds. Yeah. And we did what We're like, okay, and we would treat the privates like they're bud students. I remember having them in puddles, like, spraying them with water. Because I just remember thinking too, I was like, dude, this is why, like, in conventional military, they need these strict, like, by the numbers, because I was in charge of 5 privates. I remember they were like, hey, make sure these guys are squared away. And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, this school really doesn't ask much. Just show up with your uniform, dog tags,
somewhat in shape.
But I was amazed how many times, like, they would show up missing stuff, or like these privates like, oh no. And you're like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, just show, like, have the dog tags on you. But they, and then we'd beat them and like go get them again. But it was an eye opener for me, especially I came from, I spent 4 years in a Marine Corps unit. So I knew exactly, like, hey, things have to be done by the numbers, because you're dealing not with, I don't want to use like the lowest common denominator, but you are dealing with people who need constant guidance and direction and being told what to do and where to be on time. Where you switch that from going to special forces, it's like, no.
Totally different.
It's big boy rules. Yep. We expect you to know where to show up on time with the right gear. We're not going to be doing these, junk on the bunk inspections or all these things that I have to do in the conventional military. And I just remember seeing, I was kind of reminded of that going to jump school. After, being in buds, you're like, holy cow, that's right. These people need to be told exactly where to be, what to wear, all these things. Constantly.
You'll be surprised at just what privates will do. Yes. And you'll be, as an infantry platoon leader, it's like, how do you have PT 5 times a week and dudes are still failing PT tests? It just doesn't make any sense, right? Like, just show up and do the workout you're told to do. How are you still struggling? It's pretty incredired but
So, like, that your first experience in a leadership role, once you did pick up a platoon, I imagine, how'd that go for you?
It was good. I had different platoon sergeants. So at first had a pretty squared away guy who unfortunately was brought up to brigade pretty quickly. Then I was given a 17-year E6, and that was certainly a challenge, and just really stubborn, really seeing, hey, there's officer work, there's enlisted work. And would go to my company commander for just advice, like the dude just has anger issues or doesn't want to be told what to do. And he's not really giving me, then it's also figuring out, because you only have so many company commanders, right? So how do you know if he's a good one if you haven't had others?
Yes.
Like, what's your experience? And I think in every kind of leadership difficulty I've learned is don't necessarily just stop at your CO or kind of your field grade or your junior captain officer rank. Like, maybe go up, maybe talk to the first sergeant equivalent or the sergeant major or something of that nature to kind of get that better advice, because it wasn't.
I think that's actually great advice if you're, especially in someone in your position, if you're having trouble with your senior enlisted, maybe, and it's a common thing for people listening in the military, where the officer in charge and the senior enlisted in charge, a lot of times don't see eye to eye. And there's a dynamic there, which I've always said is kind of like this hitch in the way the military does business, where they will place, and they do it in the SEAL teams too, where you will be a senior enlisted guy. And, like for me, for example, when I got to platoon chief, I had 17 years in, right? 8 combat deployments. And then you're giving an office like, hey, this is your officer who has 3 years in, maybe a platoon under his belt, and now he's doing his OIC tour. But it's like, he's in charge of you now, so you will do whatever he says. But as someone that's 18 years in, you immediately are like, fuck that. Like, why would I be listening to this guy? But I was given good advice by my senior enlisted. It's like, it's your job as a senior enlisted to set up that officer for success, and to was one reason for it, because that officer is going to be in charge again of enlisted personnel. And if you give him a hard time, or he has you give him an excuse to be like, oh, these enlisted guys don't listen to anything, he's going to carry that on to the next position that he takes, and probably going to have that same mindset under, over a bunch of other enlisted personnel. So it's you as a senior enlisted advisor or a senior enlisted to create a good relationship with them, and then also establish that the roles, like, hey, this is what I think your role is, and here's what I think my role is. let's work together. And because then everybody has different leadership styles.
And let's put it on paper. Let's have that initial counseling. What are you expected to do? What am I expected to do? What else do you want of me? And then when a platoon sergeant fails, you have to counsel them like, hey, here's what I need to see better. Maybe one-off thing, okay, but if you start to see a pattern, that's when you absolutely need that paper trail to help yourself if you need to find a new platoon sergeant.
Yes.
And when I say 17-year E6, I don't mean to say it as a lot of experience. I mean, like, if you're only an E6 in the Army, after 17 years, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So there was something wrong, and that was a difficult situation for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then it goes like on the other half too, where it's like, hey, as the senior enlisted guy, if you're seeing the officer make certain decisions, it's like, obviously you don't call him out in front of everybody, but you need to be there to like guide him, be like, hey, sir, if you keep going down this road, the platoon's already not liking you for doing this. So like you have to weigh these decisions out and make sure like the calls that you are making are the right ones, but also setting you up for success with the guys. Are you taking care of the men?
Right, absolutely.
Do the men feel like they're being taken care of? Because if they feel you're making decisions on your own behalf and not theirs, that is going to come out in the wash.
And that can be a problem with officers, especially because they're in a leadership position for like a year or 6 months. They're like the summer help, right? Whereas
you're drinking through a fire hose as an officer. In leadership.
And then there's such a ladder climbing system. Like there's politics everywhere. I saw it in the church. I obviously in politics. I saw it in the military. And you're working for that officer evaluation report bullet. You're looking for that most qualified over highly qualified. And you only have the 18 months in a detachment command in your in that particular role to really get it. So your guys, you have to look at, did they just get back from deployment? What's going on in their personal lives? What's best for the team, what's best for 7th Group, for the battalion, et cetera. Not necessarily how much training can I fit in right now because I'm only here for a short bit. Like, let's take care of everybody so we can be in there for the long run. Take care of the dudes, they'll take care of you. Obviously, put the mission and all the critical training first.
Yeah. And I think that's, that's great advice and a great outlook, and I think that comes with experience, right? After you've been doing it for a little bit, you kind of start understanding that. What made you choose? So you were doing that leadership role. Did you jump right from there, like, hey, I'm going to go to selection?
It was going through Ranger School, and one of my good buddies, still keep in touch from this day, he was in the same squad as me in Green Beret, and just kind of seeing the Green Berets there and thinking, man, these are just some very cool dudes, good head on their shoulders, really like how they think, very chill about a lot of stuff. You kind of compare that to maybe the Bat Boys that were there, a little more uptight, like watching out for each other. And I mean, they can just carry everything and just super in shape, E2s, E3s and stuff like that.
Run through that wall.
But it was getting done with that and just thinking of what kind of career trajectory do I want for myself, and really being drawn into the Special Forces mission. I love the language capability piece of it. I love the unconventional warfare, the foreign internal defense, where what separates us from every other special operation unit is we're working by, with, and through a partner force. We're either doing that to overthrow another foreign government, or we're doing it to strengthen the foreign government to root out insurgencies. And we are working regionally. Like every special forces group focuses on a different region. I already had some Spanish background through seminary and college and stuff, so I ended up getting down to 7th Special Forces Group. I think I've even heard the analogy of it's like a missionary with a rifle or something like that, because you are going out, you are working with that guerrilla force, and you are helping them to overthrow that illegitimate government. Very much hearts and minds. You are very much using psychological operations to figure out that center of gravity, move the personnel to either not oppose you, to just not care, or to not care to support you. To just legitimize either the force that you're trying to use to replace the government, or to delegitimize the insurgency.
So how long were you?
Infantry officer, almost no time. I mean, I was a first lieutenant when I went through IBLX. That's an 02. Chaplains start at 03 typically. So when I commissioned in 2011, went on active duty in 2015, during which time I promoted to first lieutenant. So I was a first lieutenant, whereas my peers were second lieutenants going through IBLC. So I go through IBLC, I go through Ranger School, Airborne School. I get to 4th ID out in Colorado Springs. in 2017, and I have a 3-month OER before going up to the captain board. And which is, I still made captain. It's kind of funny. You make captain if you don't have a DUI or something grave, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I had a year at 4th Infantry Division before going to selection, and then before PCSing to go to Fort Bragg and start the Q course.
Okay.
But still, amazing experience. Really loved all the guys. It's fun seeing some of them, nowadays. But yeah.
So yeah, you were really, I mean, your pipeline, you were really just churning and burning, like you going from one home course to the next. And I mean, even a year in between that and going to selection is not a lot of time.
No, and it's unfortunate too, because I got to, unfortunate and fortunate maybe in some ways, I got to my unit right when they got back from Afghanistan, and then PCS to the Q course right before they went back. Asked a 10th group buddy of mine of like, hey, should I stick around, try to go on this deployment? And he was at 10th group at the time. He's like, no, that's gonna be a POGAS deployment. Don't even try. So I'm like, okay. So I thought, let's just try to get the school in.
Yeah, wait, that's good advice, man. If he knew like, hey, they're just going over to sit somewhere.
Yeah.
So you don't want to waste your time doing that. How was selection for you?
It was great. I mean, it was the physically hardest school I have been to. And
was it physically harder than Ranger School?
I think so. Yeah, Ranger School is really hard mentally and physically, but just looking at how much weight they ask you to carry and how far, and just really being objective about how do we measure each individual. Mm-hmm. Whereas you can have your RI roulette whenever you're going into whatever situation. If you have if you're doing patrols for the day, depending on which RI you get, depends on how they grade you, on whether you pass. But with selection, it's like unknown distance, unknown time requirement, rucksack has to weigh this amount, go. And you just have to go. And then you get measured on how quickly you finish it.
Yeah, and they're always watching.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the one thing. So I was a BUDS instructor for couple years, almost 2 years, and it's funny going back and being on the other side and actually watching guys go through training and putting it on, because you have this concept of like what it's like when you went through and you're like, dude, this is hell. But then when you find out like, okay, there's a rhyme and reason to everything that we do. But what I found, what I said when I was an instructor there is, because ours is basically no one's deselecting you.
Yeah.
Right. So no one's coming up and being like, hey, roster number, you're gone. Right. It's all self-selection, or you're just not meeting the standard on the timed evolutions that you have to perform each week. And what I had brought up during that time is because you get guys that they're not going to quit, but they don't belong. Yeah. Right. You see it. It's like, this guy's been ducking boat the whole time. Yeah, he's still here, but he has not been a team player. Mm-hmm. But there was no way to just be like, you're gone. Yeah. There is like documentation that you can do, which takes like 3 or 4 different instructors to document the same student, right? And they're that does happen. But I was like, well, what if we mimicked it off the Green Berets and like at the end, off peer evals at least, and be like, hey, dude, you're bottom 3, you're gone. The class doesn't want you here, but they were just like, hey man, that's not the way, we run business here. This is, the way we've been doing it. But I do think that there's the way you guys do it, it makes it's almost more of an incentive to do the right thing all the time, because it's like, it's like I'm being watched, but I don't know I'm being watched, and I could be deselected at any time. Right. Where in BUDS, it's like when you're off, you're like, oh,
you kind of know you're off.
Yeah. Like, okay,
you definitely know it at first. It's when you get to team week. So the way we structure it is you have gate week, you have land nav, and then you have team week. And with gate week, it's psych evals, IQ tests, language aptitude tests, PT test, rucks, runs, different obstacle courses, things like that. Land nav is just straight land nav. And I mean, it just sucks. And that was definitely the hardest part for me. And thank God, like even if I missed a point, wouldn't be here today, wouldn't have made it through. But you just keep going and keep trying. But with team week, I mean, the reason I say it was the physically hardest one, I think I went through and we were eating like 3-4 MREs a day, no food restrictions, but within 3 weeks, like losing 20 pounds, 25 pounds, you're just constantly burning energy, constantly moving, just moving so much weight, low carries, high carries. I think that we definitely get a good brunt of rucking.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And I think that water is probably the great equalizer for you guys, which, I couldn't imagine having such a water-based selection, but.
Yeah. I mean, each selection course has its own equalizers, right? And that's what I always say. I get asked all the time, like, oh, which one's this and that? And I'm like, dude, each one focuses on something completely different.
Absolutely.
And each one has its own stressors. And I had the, fortunate experience of going to different selection processes. Like I went to a Marine Corps sniper school, which is, its own selection process. And I've always said it. I'm like, dude, that was harder for me than buds because one, I didn't feel like I belonged there. I got lucky in getting a slot. But it's also, I was having to learn all these things, but then also being treated like dog shit and like, getting beat all the time and then trying to maintain these standards that they were asking for. And I was young. I think I was like 20, 21 when I went through. So I say that to say like, there is no like, oh,
who's better?
Yeah, like, better.
Our Navy SEAL is better than Green Berets. That's the same thing. It's like, no, we have different missions.
Different mission sets, and each selection course does a good job of selecting the right man for that job. I mean, is there... is it 100% proof? No, nothing is.
Absolutely not.
There's always going to be the bottom 3%.
There's guys who graduate that shouldn't. There's guys that don't that should have. You do your best to calculate and
But I think each selection course, like we said, is tried and true. Things are there for a reason. The way they select is done for a specific reason, and it works.
Right,
which is why we are the best military.
In the world. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. You got to keep it that way.
Yes. Sure. So you make it all the way through selection.
Yep.
And then
then go to the Q course. Very good experience. I mean, SFA. I mean, they are constantly changing up how the Q course is.
I know, dude. I have guys that are going through that I'm friends with right now, and I'm like, oh, so you're doing this? He's like, nope, they're switched it up, and I'm like, bro, and it's weird the way not weird, just different the way that you guys do it to where. So I'm following one of my buddies right now that's going through a young kid, and he's going through in chunks. Yeah. Right. And then he's like, well, now I have to sit for a month and wait.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that's how it was for me, was kind of chunks and then wait. And you do have an order to it. We had SF orientation course, then SUT, then SEER, then your MOS phase, then SAGE, and then getting into language. And I mean, that basically makes sense. But they're seeing that, hey, this is taking too long. People are sitting in between classing up. How do we just make it quicker? So they try to get like a year model where you're doing some of your SUT and I think Robin Sage training at the same time or whatever. But it'll never be perfect, but I think the better, if you can just get a certain system in place and keep it that way. I think that Ranger School, I was blown away at how much I was learning so quickly. That school should be just 62 days if you go straight through, but every minute, every hour is planned so well, and they've just done it the same way for forever. That everybody in the Army who's been to Ranger School knows those standard operating procedures and can just do it. And you just learn so much. So it's sometimes I can see trying to optimize, especially as warfare changes, but trying to keep that basic structure there just so, I don't know, guys can go through, get the same experience and get the most out of it. We
kind of did that with our SEAL qualification training. That's pretty much the what you have to, so you graduate buds, which everybody goes through, and then you go right into SEAL qualification training, which is another 7 months, and that is really that's where you are going to earn your trident at the end. But it's when I went through, it wasn't what it is now, because we still broken into chunks. Like we had to go to Benning for jump school, and then a couple other things here and there before you actually sat through like the pipeline of SQT, which is you go through like different, land warfare, CQC, all these things that you learn. Yeah. But now they have it streamlined to where you don't go in. It's everything's there. It's like you get done, jump school, free fall, cold weather. Like it's all done in one stream pipeline. So that way everybody that graduates is on the same page. They go to different coasts. And so like everybody's operating, like you said, off the same standard operating procedures. And there's no difference between East and West Coast or, this team and that team.
Yeah. And then just the adaptations to warfare, like drones or something like that. Maybe that's done at the team level, or maybe you have a green platoon kind of thing going on where that's adapted, or
So you get done with Robin's, or was it Robin Sage?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Robin Sage. Get 7th group. Just having some language experience already. I took the DLPT in Spanish before going to selection. Tried to kind of up my chances and just say, "Hey guys, look, like I already have some capabilities here. Let's
I like
do
Florida."
Well, I actually, I tried to switch to 10th group a few times because I loved Colorado Springs so much.
Yeah.
It was just incredible. But thank God that he put me down here. I mean, knowing everything that happened in 2020 with COVID. The political environment here, very happy. And then
this is not a bad state to be in during that time.
Now with a Colombian wife, it's like,
So, yep. Which, hey, congratulations.
Thank you.
I know you recently married. You're now part of the Colombian Mafia.
There you go. Yeah, the most 7th group thing I could do.
Congratulations.
But my buddy said, you didn't do it the way that a lot of 7th groupers do, which is good. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So now I kind of want to get into the meat potatoes of your story and what happened here. So obviously you get to 7th group. And this is in 2000.
Yeah, I get there June of 2020. So I finish up free fall. It takes a while just based on moving people when COVID's happening. You have to get like a exception to policy. So get down to 7th group. June of 2020, one of the first things I see, and I don't know if you heard about this, is we had a transgender Green Beret officer there.
Awesome.
That was pretty incredible.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, we have a couple of those ourselves.
I've heard. Yeah. But
I don't even know where to go with that one.
I don't know. It is. I just do the rank and last name thing to like, one, not lie to the individual and stay true to my own character, and then two, be respectful.
Because so you had this transgender Green Beret there. Were you mandated to be like, hey, you will?
No, well, so he was.
Treat them.
I actually called legal assistance to ask, hey, what am I legally required to do here?
Which is like so insane.
I know. Yeah. The lawyer, I think she got tired of me because first it was, what do I do with this training officer? And then it's like, oh, here's the guy who has the unvaccinated team. Okay, what advice does he need, or what are the legal structures that are being forced on him? So it was kind of like, hey, welcome 7th group. Obviously, 7th group's amazing, love it, but the big army and the politics is getting in there, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? They get their tentacles in. So I think because I was the only officer I knew who didn't call him, ma'am, get put in the different company when he ended up taking one of the companies at 7th group and 3rd Battalion.
So he was a leader.
He was the company commander. Yeah. But anyway, I know it's a tangent, but I think it's worth bringing up.
I think so. Well,
insane
that time was.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. And you have that. You have your SHARP, your EO briefings. They're asking you, are you guys receptive to diversity? Would you recommend your daughters join?
Which is a one-way. That's a one-way question,
right?
Because if you're like, no, I'm not, and then.
It's like, does your mom know you're gay? It's like, like, hey, like I can't really, the way you're framing it, I can't answer this. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. We were living in a bizarro world during that time.
Ridiculous.
And we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, there should be a study done on just the insanity that was going on during that time. So, dude, that's pretty, I did not know that. So you show up there, one of your first experiences is like, hey, here's your transgender teammate that is also in a leadership position.
But fortunately, just do the rank last name, respectful, get put in a different company. I think my team figured out, hey, I probably got put in that company because I didn't call him ma'am. So they appreciated that. Got a free fall team, great time, and got the team in August of 2020. So the guys had just redeployed from Afghanistan. So that was 3rd Battalion, 7th Group, which we were the last battalion to unfortunately have casualties in Afghanistan before the disastrous withdrawal.
That was that the, I remember reading, that was a big...
That was a green on blue
yes.
That happened out there. I was not at 7th Group at the time, but that was just kind of the history moving into the battalion. So everybody redeploys. Trump's like, I don't want anyone else dying in this country for this war. So kind of shuts down combat operations, slows down deployments. So get there, June of 2020, take the team in August, September 2020. And obviously COVID is happening.
Yep.
So we all know COVID's around. Precautions are just absolutely absurd. You're having to quarantine for like a month before you travel sometimes. Like I traveled to Spain, which is where I ended up meeting my wife for like language training for a month, but you're quarantining for a month before, quarantining for a month after. You're just having to be extremely careful. Just, it's like if you can do something to help, you should. sometimes the military thinks doing more is better, but sometimes doing less is better.
Yeah.
Just slowing down, watching. But I'm just very honest with the team, good group of dudes about, hey, the shot's coming out. What do you guys think? What do I think? I knew from a Christian Catholic point of view that they used aborted fetal cells in the creation and development. Everything that was provided for us at first, it was either tested using aborted fetal cells or
what cells are you saying?
Aborted fetal cells. So
really?
So yeah, you have human embryo kidney. I think it's 293, which was from a aborted baby, murdered baby in the, I think, 70s. And what they do is they take the stem cells, they continue to use them in developing of drugs or testing of drugs. And from a religious point of view, that's involved in the murder of the unborn child, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like if, hey, here's this miracle drug that's made for you. We had to kill a child for it yesterday. Do you want it in order to feel better or to get well,
that
right?
Seems like a satanic ritual that you did.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, abortion is absolutely, it is the left's sacrament. It's their evil sacrament. And if you look at just how vehement they are about protecting, quote unquote, women's rights, they just won't let go. And that's where I really liked, I think it's Brandon Gill's questions like, hey, what's your favorite kind of abortion? I don't know if you saw that clip on the Hill.
I think I've seen,
Just fantastic, because if you just look at the reality of what abortion is, it's the murder of an unborn child. Like at the moment that the sperm meets the egg, there is a different genetic material there, and that the cells are multiplying. If you're looking for life on Mars, that is how we would define life. Like there's cells, they're multiplying. It's genetic material that's different from the mother and the father. It is in fact human DNA. And if put in the proper environment, it will develop into a fully formed human.
Yes.
Like no one's pregnant with something that's other than a baby, a human baby. So for me, at first, it was the abortion issue that made me hesitant about getting the shot.
Yeah. I think back to Bill Burr is one of my favorite stand-up comedians. Have you seen that bit he does on abortion where he's he's like, I understand women's rights and whatever, and he's like, a man should not, tell you whatever, but he's like, at the same time, he's like, if I'm baking a cake and you come by and throw it on the ground and before I put it in the oven and you're like, that wasn't, a cake. It's like, well, it was going to be if you gave it 20 more minutes. It would have been like, that's what you're doing to the baby. Like it's a living thing and you are killing it.
Right.
Like there's no denying that.
Yeah. So that was at least my first kind of thinking of, hey, I'm at least not going to get this thing until it's mandated. I wasn't sure. I was trying to wrestle through all the moral theology that I had when I was a seminarian, trying to figure it out. My thought was maybe it's considered remote material cooperation, which means that you don't do it if you are able to avoid it. Mm-hmm. But through just study, through prayer, I thought, hey, I'm just not going to get this at all. In the meantime, I told the team, because we were all looking at the side effects of it, what we were hearing on the news, alternative news sources, we knew that COVID basically isn't that dangerous. A lot of us have already had it, and that these shots have a lot of side effects with it. Yeah. So I just told the guys that, hey, as your senior raider, as your team leader, I will neither punish or reward you based on whether you get the shot. We might get shit for it if we don't, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. And we definitely got shit for it. My team sergeant was regularly brought in by the company sergeant major, harassed by him about, hey, has your team gotten the shot? Why not? What's going on? And at like every company meeting and up, you would have basically a roll-up of how many people have the shot, how many people are going to get the shot soon, how many people are sick with COVID. And the new leadership metric to see whether you're a good leader or not is the percentage of your guys that had the shot. Yep. It was just how many green boxes could you check? I was just happening to go by the ops room, and Sergeant Major pulled me in. He's like, hey, sir, you're fucking up. You're fucking up your career. If you... mostly your reputation by not getting the shot, but you might want to think about jobs outside of the military if this happens. Like if your team loses a mission because of this.
Which I want to stop you right there too, because this is what the military does right here, is that right there where your leadership pulls you in and gives you a counseling or however they want to name it, when in reality, those are all threats. Mm-hmm. Those are all threats to you. Like, if you do not do this, you will not have a career here. If you break it down into layman's terms, that's exactly what he's saying to you. But they cover it as like, oh no, we're just
trying to help you out. We're trying to give you good advice.
Yeah, we're just giving you advice.
Yeah.
It's like, no, those are threats. And this isn't the first like story I've heard like this. Obviously, when this was happening all throughout the military, through our foundation, we were trying to help as many people as possible. And it was unfortunate because there were so many people getting screwed, and it was like this giant beast that you're fighting against. And so like we get to a point where like, dude, listen, you know, because we'd had people contacting us, we're like, we are trying right now, but just know like this is going to be elongated for a long time. Like if you fight against this,
it's still happening.
Yes,
now.
it's
we
still
still
happening
need
now.
a lot of work to happen, and we need to get into that.
But the amount of punishment that was doled out during that time, there was a platoon on the East Coast of SEALs that were like, we're not taking it.
Yeah.
What they did is took their tridents off, and like you're going to pick up trash in front of all the other teams for the next month every morning, so that you're shamed into like, you see what happens when you don't do what we tell you to, when you refuse the jab. Right here, we will. And so many careers were ruined over that.
No, 100%.
And now I'm talking to you.
I mean, it was absolutely terrible. But I talked to legal assistants and was asked, what am I legally compelled to do? What's the rules right now? And it wasn't mandated. So the most pressure I received was before the mandate came out in August of 2021, because at that point within the special operations community, you want to deploy often, you want to travel a lot. You also want to, it's more highly competitive for promotions or how you rank against your peers. And if they're going off of how many of your guys have the shot, I was the only officer who didn't initially sign up for the shot in like January, February of 21 within my company. So that was already kind of here's this guy, and now here's his team. And it was kind of funny. I mean, we were being nicknamed the tinfoil hat team.
This episode is brought to you by the one and only Firecracker Farms. If you guys have been following me, you know from day one I've been a huge advocate of this product, not only because of its great flavor and the spice it adds to my food and for the health benefits, but because Alex, the owner, is just an incredible human being. And when I support a product, not only do I look at the product itself, I look at the person behind the product. Alex is a patriot. He supports veteran-owned organizations such as Op300 and my nonprofit, the Pipe Hitter Foundation. So if you guys are looking for a great product, definitely go hit the link below on the sponsor link and go try out some. And if you like it, please like, tag, and do a post for them. All right. I appreciate your guys' support. Thank you, and God bless.
Things like that.
Really?
We were definitely bonding over that. And it came into June of 2021. We were at some military freefall training out in Arizona, and we were told that First Special Forces Command made it a deployment requirement that you need the shot in order to travel or deploy. We had a JSET coming up to El Salvador, and it was before the mandate came out, but because they made that rule, I had to talk to the company commander, and he's like, hey, John, I know your team doesn't want the shot, but what's it going to be? Are you guys going to get the shot, or are we going to have to pull the deployment from you? And I had already talked to the team. Team Sergeant and I had done that. Team Sergeant and I, we were at the point where we're just not going to get this until it's mandatory. For a lot of guys were concerned that if they got the shot and it was emergency use authorized, if they get injured by it, they have no recourse whatsoever. No. I mean, even the FDA with the Childhood Safety Act, Vaccine Safety Act, which is another 1984 Orwellian named thing because it's not about childhood safety whatsoever. If you get jacked up, you don't really have recourse to sue. But especially if you're taking the EUA and they say it's voluntary, guys wanted to wait until they were mandated to get it.
In case they could have some recourse.
Right, yeah. Most of the guys had families. So it was just a jacked up situation. But I just told them, hey, sir, I talked to the team. I only have one additional guy who wants to get the shot. But most of us, or a lot of us, have taken tests to show that we already have immunity. Is that acceptable? And it's like, no, we're not willing to accept that risk. And that blew my mind because that week we were jumping out of planes at 14,000 feet at night with oxygen and equipment. And it's like, the risk you're not willing to take is to send us to another country, pretty safe, disease, 99.99% chance of surviving. So yeah, the deployment was pulled. That really hit hard.
How did the guys take it?
I mean, they were definitely pretty frustrated, pretty beat up. And then afterwards, it seemed like we had other training requirements that were put on us as punishments.
Yep.
There was a company eval where I had a buddy he was on the same company eval with a different battalion like a year before. And from that evaluation, the company commander was fired, and all the platoon or the detachment commanders who hadn't gone to Ranger School were then sent to Ranger School. So my team sergeant and I, we went in thinking they're going to look for a way to fire us. Like that's probably what's going to be happening right now. But fortunately, and it's unfortunate, another team didn't perform so well. They kind of shit the bed on some stuff. We did pretty well. Battalion commander was pretty happy with it. So got through that training environment. And yeah, but it was definitely a lot of blows for us.
Yeah. I was just wondering, like, especially since your whole team was like on board, like, hey, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
And obviously the pressure getting applied throughout a certain amount of time, if there was dudes that were like, I'm going to take the jab.
Yeah. And one guy did. And I mean, we kind of thought that, hey, you're probably going to get pulled from the team if this happens. And that did happen. He got pulled up to company level. I mean, great dude. He's back and the team sergeant of the team now. But yeah, there were just a lot of pressures put on guys. And I think the most frustrating thing we had was after that, we were sent to JRTC, which is the Joint Readiness Training Center out in Louisiana. So that's where you're doing a large scale combat operation. You have a whole brigade size or battalion mimicking a brigade size enemy force. You send a whole brigade out there. So you are doing special operations within this huge, what's supposed to be a peer-to-peer warfare scenario.
Gotcha.
And in the middle of it, you only have like a 12-hour break in the middle of this whole training. Now, we get to the training. This is September of 21, so after the mandate comes out, we are told if you don't have the shot, you're supposed to wear red wristbands and red tape.
Oh, yes. I forgot that they did this.
To like
the Star of David.
Right.
Go
well,
ahead.
actually, another detachment in good old military humor did make us gold stars.
Yeah.
But like we saw that as, okay, they see through what's going on. I do too. And that was just dudes being dudes. But like, it's just so insane. Like, we're not looking at history at how.
Yeah. Like, do we see what we're doing to each other right now? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was totally Marxist, and it was so Marxist that usually what you do in Marxism is you make the categories of the haves and the have-nots. And I think that we were making up more categories than we actually had before. We're now having vaccinated and not vaccinated. We're having transgender and allies, and then heteronormative, whatever weirdness.
Yeah.
It was just a wild time. But during that training, we're counseled in the middle of the woods, in the middle of this like 2-week in the woods exercise. And most of my team, they have a major drive out. You guys have 72 hours to say whether you're going to get the shot or not. And I just called my company commander after. I'm like, hey, sir, how do you expect my guys to make a lifelong career decision without the proper medical, religious, or legal resources? How are we supposed to show that training to fight and win wars is more important than administrative bullshit when this is being held over our heads? And we're just not going to get any training value out of this if we have to make this decision right now.
And so what was the reply on that?
Well, sent it back up the chain, and we were able to wait until we got back from training in October. But that also was frustrating too, because it's like, why are you going to make the guy who's in the training environment have to push back, right? Like, why didn't you see this?
And that's as you're going through this, I just from having to go through a certain circumstance, of the same same kind of thing where it's just bad decisions are made and leaders decide to not do the right thing. And I just think, like, even the guy that came out to you in the woods, right? He was told by somebody, get him to do this. That person was told by somebody, and it passes down. Yeah. And to me, what's amazing is like, and I don't think there's bad people. I just think it's just amazing to me the thought process that goes through these higher, these senior officers' heads, where it's like, I know what I'm about to say is not the right thing, or what's going on right now is probably not on the up and up, but I'm still going to make this decision to make the guy below me, make sure the guy below him, to make sure the guy below him is doing these orders that I don't. And I guarantee you some of these officers did not agree with what the orders that they were given.
Oh, yeah, but they didn't have a choice. They were forced to do it,
and that's where it's like, it takes a true leader, dude. And I'm speaking specifically to you in all aspects, right? You were still kind of a brand new officer in the military, right? And then you had some, the year in the infantry, and then you went through selection, but now this is your first team. And it really shows, dude, the the moral and ethical, I don't know the word I'm looking for, just the amount it took for you to stand up and be like, I'm not doing this, and I'm not making my guys do this, even though you were being pressured by so many officers from up above who are literally doing the most cowardice decision. And they can sit there and you can make excuses up like, oh, I had to do it because of this. And it's like, no, you didn't. That's the reason you're wearing those bars on your shoulder. And that's what amazes me. It's like, you're told, I'm sure, from whatever institution that you got those bars from, is like, you are now a leader in the United States military. Mm-hmm. You have the power to make decisions. So you do not have to, like, decisions that might go against the grain, but that's what was expected of you as a leader. I think it's constantly, drove into senior enlisted courses or senior enlisted leadership courses and also into officer courses throughout the military. It's like, you being a leader means making the right moral and ethical decisions, right, on and off the battlefield. And when it came to this, it just seemed, it flipped it on its head. And it's like, no, we don't want you to make the moral and ethical right decision here. We want you to do exactly what you are told to do. Mm-hmm. And to me, it just showed a chink in our armor, when it comes to leadership in the military.
And we haven't cleaned it up yet.
No.
That's where, we'll jump to it later, but accountability. We absolutely need accountability. All those people who push the vax mandate are the ones that are in the Pentagon right now at the highest levels, the highest echelons.
Yes, and that is the crazy part. And I know Pete is doing his best to clean up the swamp in the military. And I told this to Pete before he became, Sec War, in which I knew he was going to win, but I was like, I was asked, and not that my, opinion matters all that much, but in my thought, I was like, you have to fire everybody.
Yeah.
And I know that's an extreme measure, but I'm like, I think you're underestimating just how deep the swamp is 100%. Instilled into our military leadership.
Yeah.
I'm like, there are people, there are yes men, and they will sit there and tell you to your face, oh yes, and they will do the exact opposite behind your back, which is what happened in Trump's first term when he ran. It was like he did not clean house the way he was supposed to, and he ended up getting screwed because everybody was fighting against him behind the scenes. Yep. And it's the same thing that's going on with Pete right now. I'm like, yes, you are making strides forward, but I'm like, dude, it's not enough. It's you still have the same individuals that mandated the vaccine, that fired people like you, that sat there and punished people for not following these rules. And now that's just like, oh, well, that's over now. We'll still leave them in a leadership position. I'm like, to me, that right there is like, that person should be fired.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
The effects can't be underestimated. I mean, you had the 8,600. That's the number that's usually put out of how many were kicked out. I wouldn't fall into that because you had tens of thousands, and talking through different lawyers, different class action lawsuits, looking at the number of people who left the military within the first year, we estimate the number of people who left because of the vax mandate is about 100,000, which that's not a number that's tracked because they don't really track the numbers that you don't want. There's not an exit survey of saying, did you leave because of the vax mandate? You have guys retiring early, not re-enlisting, medically retiring, et cetera. But you had the 8,600 kicked out. You have the tens of thousands who left. That's 100,000 warriors of conscience who are now out. Who are the people who will stand up, make the right decision, even when pressure comes down on them?
Yeah, you just lost everybody that you need.
And then you have the people, and I think it's like the head of the Air Force now, the CNO of the Navy. Like, some of these were the biggest COVID tyrants that we had, and they're in these high leadership positions. And we can't expect that when a Democrat administration comes in again, that we're not going to go through the same rigmarole. Yep. There needs to be accountability, period. And right now with the reinstatement process, their last number I heard was about 150 people being reinstated. So if you have 150 or 100K, like, that's 1.5 people for every 1,000 forced out.
And to my thing, when Pete came out with that, because my lawyer is Pete's lawyer, so I'm in a secondary contact with him all the time. But I remember when he came out with that statement, hey, you got kicked out, you can come back in. And I remember I called and I was like, why do you think people would come back in? Mm-hmm. Like, are you offering them back pay for everything that they got taken away from them? I'm like, the amount of lives that were destroyed because of this vaccine mandate, the amount of careers that were destroyed, and we're just thinking it on a career level. But I'm like, all these people had families.
Yeah.
Their families, how many families were destroyed because of this, right? I'm like, and you just offering like, hey, come on back.
The back pay piece. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and not only come on back, but you're going to come back and you're going to be working for the same leaders that kicked you out in the first place. I'm like, so who would want to come back and work in an environment like that?
Yeah. Now, accountability, that's absolutely the most obvious thing of what needs to happen, what would incentivize people to come back more than any amount of money would. But if you look at the actual process of coming back in, one, it's overly bureaucratic, takes too long. But two, the back pay piece is a lie. The 8,600 who were kicked out, they were told full back pay. If you were kicked out, and it was written that you were kicked out for this reason, you have everything subtracted from what you made as a civilian from your full back pay. So let's say you're owed $300,000 from the military, but you made $200,000 as a civilian.
Oh my God.
That's subtracted. Now that's the 8,600. Now you have the 80, 90,000 people who voluntarily separated, quote unquote, voluntarily separated, who aren't entitled to anything. So considered voluntarily separated, if I went back, I wouldn't be entitled to back pay. Unless they reassess for some reason that I was kicked out or whatever, I wouldn't get any back pay.
That you were forced out, yeah.
For me, it would be, hey, come on back for 2 years, just for shits and giggles. Okay.
Yeah.
So there still needs to be a lot of work, and I know a lot of the people on the task force, the reinstatement task force, and they have people looking at them sideways in the Pentagon because a lot of people don't understand why the order was unlawful. It was unlawful because an FDA-approved shot was never offered to the service members when the time of the counseling happened, when they were being reprimanded, when they were being kicked out. Mm-hmm. In order for the Secretary of Defense to lawfully mandate a drug, it needs to be fully FDA approved. They FDA approved Comirnaty, but Pfizer is the one that was around. So they were trying to say Pfizer is what you can get because it's FDA approved. It's kind of like a Cheerios and Toasted Oats kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they might seem like the same, but man, one is FDA approved, one's not. The flagrant violation of religious freedoms, of religious accommodation requests, it was just such a shit show. And we still have so far to go for accountability, actually reinstated and actually back pay. But most people want to sweep it on the rug. And what kills me is, and one reason I'm running for Congress, this isn't the only reason, but I don't hear any congressmen talking about this right now. I will be the biggest advocate for veterans, period, service members, period, who are affected by this thing. And it just doesn't feel like we have anybody up there on the Hill doing that.
Yeah.
We have people who are paying lip service, but we don't have anyone who's actually digging in deeply, looking at why do we only have, for every 1,000 kicked out, we only have one coming back in. What's going on there? How is that?
Yeah, those numbers aren't reported either.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I hope even through just running that truth comes out, that more is done there. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, where do you think, so like, let's just say, because I know you're tracking this task force and everything that they're doing to try and make right of everything that happened. What, like, say you get elected and boom, you're in. What steps need to be taken further now to like, I mean, get accountability? You
can't just. So the Pentagon does have they're having a review, and my friend Casey Dixon's on it. Others I know are on it. But that is still within the Pentagon. So there still is some protection of their own that could be happening there. Mm-hmm. You need to have that same thing happening. I mean, I would want to be on House Armed Service Committee, and you are the civilian leadership for the military, right? Like it's the people that are running the government that are supposed to be represented up there on the Hill as the republic that we have. So to be able to question those leaders. But like what needs to happen is you need to have full investigation into what happened. You need people fired. And the way I would go about it is I would have court-martials for the highest ranking folks after the investigations. They get their fair trial. If they're found guilty, hey, you're getting fired. You're going to have the same reprimand that many people you fired got, which most people who were kicked out got general discharges. They didn't get honorable discharges. Yeah. You can also do grade rank determinations, which is you look at an officer's career, you look at the last place that they served honorably, and then you demote them to that rank. But and we, that's a good, yeah. So those are just some ideas of what needs to happen. So I could work into the NDAA process, the National Defense Authorization Act process, where hey, you're going to have this investigation. It's going to be done by these people. I'm not approving the military budget if you don't do that. And go through this process. That's something that could happen. And because I know a lot of congressmen just suck and are awful, which is one reason I'm running, if they don't have those hearings at the House Armed Services Committee level, I can have local hearings in the district, similar to what Matt Gaetz did on Second Amendment issues. You can do roundtable hearings like Senator Johnson's doing up on Capitol Hill as well.
Yeah. So just keep applying the pressure.
You apply that pressure, you make it so their civilian back pay isn't subtracted out from there. You can make it where, hey, don't make guys go through MEPS again. Don't do it through the BCMR, BCNR, which is the Board of Correction Military Records process or Navy records process, to streamline it. So those are some things. And then I would also mandate constitutional training for our service members at all levels and annually. Because how many stupid refreshers did you have to do annually? We're just clicking through slides.
Yeah.
Just bullshit.
Like, get it done. Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, well, I think that is a great idea, is doing, like you said, those constitutional, what were you saying? Like,
yeah, you just do annual,
like what your rights
training.
are, learning to know what your rights are, because so many of us, when we sign up for the military, there are rights that are taken away from you. You're just like, hey, this is the way the military works under the UCMJ. You only have these rights, and some of these rights that you would have as a civilian, you don't have in here because you belong to the military, which I think when you sign up, it's like, hey, welcome, your ass is in the military now, right? And you take that as like, okay, but it's not until, like, and I can speak from personal experience, when all that stuff happened to me.
Yeah.
I had no understanding.
You don't think about it. You think the institution out there to help you.
Yes.
Like, these are my brothers. They would never screw me over.
Yes. Or just the system in general is like, it should be here to make sure things are done fairly and protect the service member, or to punish them accordingly, right?
Yeah.
Which is not like that at all, which is what we learned. It's a complete corrupt system. Same thing with coward leaders who make certain decisions, basically to protect themselves and to make sure they pick up rank, and hurting the service member below them. And we've gone through our foundation up to the Capitol a bunch of times, and one of our pillars is like, hey, we want UCMJ reform. We want service members to be treated fairly. And every time we've gone up there, it's this dude. And you're talking about these congressmen and women are like, oof, you want to take on the DOD? Like, that is too big of a hill to climb. And nobody, it seemed, is willing to like take that step forward to be like, no. And I told them, I'm like, I get it. It's a mountain to climb, but how do you eat an elephant? It's like one bite at a time. Yeah. Like, we need to just constantly be putting pressure and making little strides each and every time. And Matt Gaetz actually did a lot of work before in that aspect. He did get some things reformed at the UCMJ, especially when it comes to when you go to court martial, the way things are handled that way. But it's not, it's not enough. Like, we need to keep pressing forward and definitely get some reform in that manner. But then also, like you said, get accountability for the things that have done, that have already happened.
We have Afghanistan, and no one was fired for that. I know most people hit on Afghanistan, and that was absolutely tragic.
As they should.
Ridiculous. But with regards to COVID, you had something that was unlawful happen, something illegal happened. Yeah. So let's apply the laws that are on the books right now, because I guarantee you, these leaders at the highest level, they were told by subordinates, it was passed up to them. Let's hold the lawyers accountable. Let's hold the doctors accountable. Let's hold the leaders accountable. Ultimately, the leaders are responsible for everything they do or fail to do. And that needs to happen with regards to this unlawful mandate that just affected many lives, left many medically injured, just ridiculous.
Yeah. They need to treat it like, not in the same fact, but like the Nuremberg trials, It's like, hey, man, bring them back.
In a sense,
this is what you did as a leader, and you are... What do you plead, and what's your case against this? And then we will determine whether your actions were right or wrong, if they followed the letter of the law, if they followed the Constitution. And I guarantee you, for most of them, it didn't.
Right.
It's like, you made this decision for the betterment of your career and hurt the people below you.
Well, and we need to look at the Nuremberg Code, because it's a thing that still exists. And I've done some contracting out in Germany since getting out, gone up there, visit the museum, but it's just, you don't force a person to take something against their own will. You have testing on animals to make sure that the thing is safe before you give it to humans. Yes. You let them know full informed consent. What are the side effects, positive, negative, et cetera. All of this, just basic laws against humanity were violated.
Yes.
So another reform that I think absolutely needs to happen. I will be an absolute medical freedom advocate where you cannot mandate someone to take a drug or not take a drug, just period. Maybe some some exceptions in prisons and stuff, but this needs to apply in the military. Basic training is not the place where you're able to make full informed consent. You're just an 18, 19-year-old.
You don't know what you're signing.
Like, get out of here, dude. Like,
which they have it. I think they have it that way on purpose. It's like, they don't want free thinking 18-year-olds like, wait a minute, what is this? Like,
and you are losing a demographic there because you have, and I've gotten to know a lot of homeschoolers, people who don't vaccinate their kids. Hey, their personal choice. But you're having them go in the military and get a dozen at a time when they're being physically stressed. Obviously, basic training is a certain level of physical stress, right? But
for some, it varies for each person.
But to the point is that people can get pretty sick. I know of one Marine who's just didn't have shots as a kid and then had all of them in basic and
you're inviting all that into your body.
Dead, like has autism now. No.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to get canceled. Whatever.
I mean, I do agree, dude. And I think just for the listeners, I know we brought up like the Nuremberg thing. Like, we're not trying to we're
not going to execute people.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
But it's just in the premise of making sure that we're holding these leaders who made wrong decisions accountable. And I think if it doesn't happen, then it's going to happen again.
Exactly.
Right? There's nothing that we can go back on and be like, holy shit. Like, especially for leaders, they should have that to go back to be like, oh, dude, these officers were punished big time for making these decisions. And I'm not going to do, as an example, I'm not going to do that. But if we don't have that, then there's nothing to go back to. And they'll be forced to make unethical, immoral decisions again.
Yeah.
Without having an example to be like, I don't have to follow these orders.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. 100%. No, absolutely. But no, I think I just got you to September of 21.
Oh yeah. So
sorry. It's, but yeah, I don't get the shot, taken off the team. I was, ironically selected to teach ethics at West Point. So my broadening assignment would have been to get a master's in philosophy, go up there, teach philosophy and ethics there. Because my exemption's pending, I'm not allowed to deploy to PCS to go TDY, so I can't PCS to my next duty assignment. Make the decision to leave the military in 2022. So August of 22, we had a 2-star come to the base, and he was just doing a town hall. And you know how there's town halls, it's like, hey, don't ask stupid questions.
Yeah.
But my thought process is if someone doesn't say something, who will? If I don't, who will? So just ask them hey, sir, Captain Frankman over in AS3 over in 3-7, 2 weeks ago, the COVID shot, or we were told to not, CDC said don't treat unvaccinated, vaccinate any differently whatsoever, but we have about 30 of us who can't PCS, TDY, deploy, any of that who haven't got the shot, and our exemptions have been pending for a year. So when our exemption is going to be answered, and is there any talk about getting rid of this mandate? And he was like, have you heard of Novavax? And I said, yes, sir, that uses aborted fetal cells too, because I knew exactly what he was trying to do, trying to trap me, and somehow just blurt it back out. But he's like, well, I don't want to kick anybody out, but if we have to, we will, and the military's trying to work with you, and you should do what they tell you to and find that middle ground. And I'm just like, dude, I'm getting the frick out of here. This is just stupid. Why am I going to wait to get kicked out? This is just so dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you decided.
So I put my paperwork in to leave. Had one... If you're an officer, they have you do an exit interview, and just had one of those, which was kind of interesting, sort of gaslit to seeming extremist in that.
We'll say, go ahead. And
I went there, and he's like, hey, I've heard good things. Why are you leaving? And I just kind of recounted everything that happened to me based on COVID and asked, what would you do? And I asked him, do you think the order was lawful? He's like, yeah. I'm like, do you realize it required an FDA-approved shot to be lawful? He's like, well, I'm not a doctor. I'm like, yeah, I've talked to your doctors. They're a bunch of yes men and they're useless. Ask him, have you heard of the Nuremberg, have you heard of Nuremberg Code? So I guess I'm getting a little aggressive there too. And have you done anything to look into vaccine-injured soldiers? And then I'm told that extremism is ideology can be a bad thing. You're going to a dark place. I'm like, no, I'm just doing what I think is right.
We want to understand your white rage.
Yeah. Well, it's like, no, it went into ideology can be a bad thing. Have you heard of the Crusades? I'm like, well,
what?
I'm like, well, that's a little bit off topic, but just having some study of history in seminary, it's like, well, I mean, Christianity was spread through the blood of the martyrs and Islam through the sword. I think it's a little bit off topic, but
if you want to go down here,
it's like, and then to ask, do you think that your what you did, the decisions you made were selfless? Like, did that reflect selfless service? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I did what was right, even at great personal cost. And then he asked, what would you say to a fellow Catholic or Christian who got the shot? It's like, I would say, do you think that a drug or a disease that you have a 99.99% chance of surviving merits you taking a drug that is complicit in the murder and the theft of an aborted baby, like the murder of the baby and the theft of his body parts? And if you're Catholic, maybe consider going to confession. So I don't know. It was just, I was livid, but,
as you should have been. I mean, and especially, hey, he's asking you those questions and you're standing on what you believe. It's like, yeah, I'm going to answer them.
So I was just ready to get out and then, just hit the ground running, getting out.
So what date did you get out?
I got out July 1st at 23.
Okay.
So mandate was rescinded, but at that point, career was just like, I felt it was irreparably harmed. I lost out on deployments, team time, was supposed to have the broadening assignment, teaching at West Point. Had I stayed on, I even called West Point to see, hey, do you still have this slot available? They had given it to somebody else. I'm like, okay. So I was just already planning on getting out, so just did.
Yeah. And then did you already have it in your mind, like, hey, when I get out, I'm running for Congress?
No, not at all. I had it. Well, the first thing I had was thinking, do I go back to seminary? Like, I'm still single. Okay. I still love God, love the priesthood.
I'm going to ask the question, did you remain a virgin the whole time?
Or
is that not, or is that a rule?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, so you don't have to be. So with celibacy, with priestly celibacy, there are priests who have had histories past, grown up in the culture, right? But the understanding is that you take that promise or the vow of obedience or of celibacy, where you're to remain continent. You aren't to have sexual relations. You're never to get married. And what's expected of a person moving into seminary is to have a certain level of chastity. And there's an understanding that maybe with converts, maybe with people who didn't grow up Catholic or grew up like kind of lukewarm Catholic, that they had their past.
Okay.
So they're going to look at, and when I first entered seminary, they had those questions like, tell them about your sexual history. Have you ever viewed pornography? What have you viewed? Et cetera. Like, they're really digging into it. It's like, do you like dudes? Do you like chicks? Like, they're really trying to dig in.
Yeah.
I mean, another tangent, the sexual scandals that you've seen in the priesthood aren't so much pedophilia. It's more like pederasty, and it's more of homosexual priests preying on more boys. Adolescent boys. So like 16, 17. That is the larger chunk. So Benedict, when he was Cardinal Ratzinger, Pope Benedict, when he was Ratzinger, had at the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith that we're not going to ordain deeply seated homosexuals to the priesthood. That if you have deep-seated tendencies towards homosexuality, the priesthood is not for you. That you have to have that capability of really giving life, generating it naturally, in order for you to supernaturally now generate that life as a priest.
Okay.
I know that's probably tangents you don't usually get.
Hey, I'm interested in that, because I mean, I've always wondered that. Obviously, I told you my little brother was thinking about becoming a priest a long time ago, and I mean, just the level of the vow that you have to take, and like the level of commitment, of like, hey, I'm not going to have sex again. The reason I asked, like, if you had already, because in my mind, I'm like, dude, that would be so difficult. Like, if you had sex already, then you're like, I'm never doing that again. And I'm like, bro, that's
I'll just say I do know guys who have done that, who have had sex. They have gone to seminary. They're great priests, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just like that is a level of commitment.
And I think that with this world too, that there's so many problems with chastity, with just modesty. I mean, pornography is just so flagrant. And as a congressman, I would be down to having age verification for everybody. I mean, just like, hey man, you want to look at this? You have to do it for gambling. You have to do it for buying ammo, et cetera. Like, we should make this for a drug that is just as that can have the same addiction level as like fentanyl or other shit like that.
Because it
screws up. Yeah, it's a drug.
Yeah.
So there needs to be protections for kids, at least. Let's start at that point. I think it's pretty fun to see James Fishback running for governor talking about the sin tax. where for OnlyFans, he wants to tax like 50%.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's fun.
I saw something that Elon Musk was thinking about buying OnlyFans just to end it.
Oh, that'd
destroy
be fun.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah, I think that someone else would just buy something else.
Yeah,
and whatever. But no, I mean it's a awful thing, and if we don't look at the social issues that are plaguing our country, we're never going to kind of move forward.
Yeah.
If you don't have that structure of the nuclear family, I mean, kids thrive when there's a mother and a father that stay together, and that family has kids. That's where future citizens come from, and it's those stable families that are religious, have good values, that make a good society.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I say it to this day, like, my wife and I are going on 19 years next week, and I'm like, the reason we have such a healthy and good marriage is because we come from families that have healthy and good marriages. Both our parents stayed together, and obviously we put in the work to make sure it's good. But I'm like, we cannot ever discount the foundation that we came from and the example that was set before us. And I think that's a huge part of why, especially going through, a SEAL career, married with kids. I mean, that adds major stressors, just like in the special operation or special forces. And it's like, if you do not have a good foundation like that underneath you, your marriage is at risk.
Right.
And in the
military, they joke about the 3Ds, right? DUI, domestic violence, or divorce.
Yes.
And you need 2 of the 3 to make E9. I don't know if they ever said that in the Navy.
Oh yeah. It's like, it used to be like a rite of passage.
Oh yeah.
It was like, this is, I knew Master Chiefs had 3 DUIs and
or joke that the 75th Ranger Regiment is because of the 75% divorce rate. I don't think it's that high. But it's just, but yeah, it's crazy.
Well, ours is 120% divorce rate because they are counting second divorces.
Oh yeah, that's insane.
And I'll say this, and I've said it before, the job itself is very stressful. No matter what special operations career you go into, a lot is going to be asked of you and taxed. Your family is going to be taxed. But I get like this 120% divorce rate. Like, this is because of the job. I'm like, no.
Nope.
I'm like, the job does add major stressors, but the reason there's divorce rates is because of the choices that you made. The choice, or you and your spouse made, whether being faithful, or whether being not putting the time and effort into your family, and trying to find that fine line. And it's hard. It's hard to find the fine line between being the best that you can be at that job, and then also being the best you can be at home. And I always said, the reason, my purpose since I got out, I think a lot of guys have trouble finding purpose. Well, for me, I was like, I just simplified it, and I was like, my purpose is my wife. Wow. My purpose is my family, and the reason for that is because while I was in, I gave 100% to the job, and I gave whatever was left behind to my family. And I was always trying to find that balance, but the reality of it is the job took most of my attention. But my wife and my kids gave me 100% all the time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
No matter what. And so I owe it to them to give them 100% after I'm out. And so that is my purpose, right? And if you make that your family, your purpose, and the nucleus of everything that you are doing, everything else will fall into place, right?
Yeah.
I work to provide for my family. I do things to make sure my family's good to go, and then I'm actually I can have the time at home to be with them, especially the time that I missed. But that is all. What I'm saying is it all entails back to coming from a good foundation, right? And that is the reason we were able to make it through a career like that, is because both our families, we came from a nuclear family that was raised.
And if you don't have a nuclear family, like, hey man, you figure out how you were wounded, how you were affected, because you were. But then you compensate for it. You find other good examples. You communicate with your spouse, girlfriend, fiance beforehand, and
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're not saying just because you don't come from a nuclear family,
right?
You
but
can't have that.
Statistically,
but you are fighting an uphill battle,
right?
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So so obviously we're in the running right now.
Yeah.
So what I think I asked you earlier.
So I got out. I was thinking about I went on a silent retreat, was trying to pray about, hey, what's next? What got me kind of into politics was when I got out, I wrote an op-ed about my experience as Green Beret not getting the shot. And that led to multiple interviews on different TV programs, and then going up to the Hill, talking to different congressmen, their staffers about what needs to happen, and just feeling as though nothing's really happening that should. There's a lot of common sense things that can happen that are not. For instance, when Republicans had the majority in the House, they could have had a lot of hearings about the COVID mandates, but they didn't. And just being up there and sensing that, I think this is where God wants me to be, that there's just so much trash going on and that a lot of people aren't really fighting or doing what needs to happen to just really save this country. And if that's not the case, then I'm going to try to step in at whatever opportunity I have to do so. And just was blessed with amazing experiences with Matt Gaetz. He brought me to the State of the Union in 2024. So brought me to really talk about a lot of the COVID shot stuff, what was happening. It was awesome until I had to listen to Biden speak. That was absolutely just and I felt like the defining moment of like where Democrats and Republicans were is to my left when I was sitting in Congress was to my left was a dude whose daughter died from a fentanyl overdose, which was just absolutely tragic. That was what was going on, just allowing millions and millions of illegals in. And on my right, Democrat brought in a woman who couldn't murder her baby in Texas, so had to go to New York to do it. Abortion, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous what they say is heroism.
It's like I said, bizarro world. It's I can never logically just like understand the way they do things or like what they decide to put on a pedestal as like, hey, this is what we're fighting for. And you're like, what? Like, so you went up there and did that and then.
Yeah, I did that. I was involved in the elections in 2024, got to meet Trump in October 24, ask him about like, hey, at a veterans town hall, what are you going to do to fix the military, hold leaders accountable? And he was basically like, hey, we're going to reinstate folks. We're going to give them back pay. He asked if I would come back in. I said, as long as there's accountability, potentially. And he's like, oh yeah, there will be accountability. We'll fire their asses. Well,
it's happening, but not at the rate it should be. They're doing like these selective firings and really what I've seen is they're firing people on what they're doing now. So like, it's like, oh, this general made a remark, whatever that was against the president's, mandate or what the president wants. So we're firing him. Right. Yeah. But it's like, dude, you guys need to look back
retroactively
the past 4 years and look at the decisions that were made. Right.
Yeah.
Cause I guarantee you there's about 80% that need to be let go as well.
Yeah.
But again, I also, I step back and I think about it logically too. I'm like, dude, that it's a big ask to just sweep through and fire all this leadership because then you're having to replace them, which I think is it's also a big ask. But at the same time, I'm like,
we have to do it.
Yeah,
it has to get done.
Set the standard, set the example.
How do you do it? Elephant one bite at a time.
Exactly.
But you also have a timeline of here's 4 years where we have this administration. We don't know who's going to be next. And we want to set the next folks up for success. And the executive branch can do only so much. I think the legislative needs to do much, much more because the government basically is being run off executive orders right now. We have some legislation getting put through, but it's one of the least productive sessions of Congress just for decades. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Given the wins that we had in 2024, the House, the Senate presidency, they should have lined up just tons of legislation before President Trump ever was sworn in on January 20th. Yet we're just not seeing that happen. We saw the one big beautiful bill, little things here and there, but really just not a whole lot. Now everybody's freezing up before midterms. We can't even get the SAVE Act of just voter ID in. And I don't think a lot of Republicans want it to happen. If they did, they would have pushed it immediately. Yeah. So it's like these stupid games.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the games that you're going to be taking part of here soon.
Right.
And all the bureaucracy that comes with it. Let me ask you, so when you do win, you're going to be a huge advocate, obviously, for veterans, right?
100%,
in all aspects. What is your thoughts? I'm interested in recent news, right, of the Green Beret who is getting ousted right now for allegedly doing insider training on the Maduro raid.
I mean, there has
Gannon Van Dyke.
Yeah. I think there has to be some level of punishment there, right? Like, I don't think you just go and just totally execute the guy or anything. But if you're putting a mission at risk by kind of tipping the scales through, I mean, you have your top secret clearance, you have a secret clearance. What Congress does is absolutely awful. Their insider trading is just absolute trash, and I'm totally opposed to any of the insider trading. That needs to be just absolutely wiped out. I think maybe you make some kind of a lighter reprimand for this guy, make a policy about it, and going forward, hey, if this happens, this is how you're going to be punished.
Yeah.
Because when you're putting the mission at risk, that's what needs to come first. And it's not just the mission, it's the other men that are with him. Because that can be something that our adversaries can look at and see, why did this person who actually is in the military make a tens of thousands of dollar bet that we're going to take Maduro out? Yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
So I'll give you my thoughts. So obviously when the first story came out, you're like, okay, this is interesting. This is obviously something that has not been done before. Now we're replacing bets on war, which, I'm not a big, I don't go, stocks and trades and betting and all that stuff. So I'm kind of like lost on all that. But my immediate reaction to it was, this guy's going to get screwed big time. And so we're actually announcing Monday our foundation is supporting this individual.
Okay.
And here are the reasons why we are supporting Gannon Van Dyke. One is because this is we say in our nonprofit, when you go into situations like this and you are being accused or alleged of doing something, the way the system is set up, it's the process that they tell you to, hey, just let the process play out. The process is the punishment, right?
Right.
So right off the bat, he's being punished. His name was put out publicly. His face was put out publicly. He was ousted. They've already frozen all of his accounts. He has no money. They're already looking for ways to demonize him through the media. They've searched back and are trying to poke holes. Luckily, this guy has a flawless record. Has not been in trouble for anything. And I know for the next however long this guy is about to be dragged through the mud.
Yeah.
Right. I also know that the prosecutors who are going after him, because this is a public case, are going to do what they do each and every time, which is they are going to over-prosecute, over-punish. They are going to violate every one of this guy's rights. They are going to try and deceive, lie, cheat just to get that win. Because when you are put in a position like this, that is all that matters in the end.
Just make an example.
And they are going to hang him out to dry. Now, he has pleaded not guilty. And so his lawyer has already said, hey, what was done was not illegal.
Yeah.
In no way can you determine that he put American troops at risk. He did not act against the the U.S. in any form or fashion. And you have no way to prove what he did was illegal. So, because there are so many other, the way that he went about it was completely legal on Polymarket. And so that is their defense. And we are going to stick with him through the whole thing. One, to make sure that he is treated fairly, that he is treated justly, and that these prosecutors don't act out of line, because we will be there to call them out on each and everything that they do. And for me, I'm like, as a service member, people do make mistakes.
Sure,
none of us are perfect, right? Yeah. And you should be given the benefit of the doubt each time, especially if you've served honorably for over 18 years. I'm like, you should be treated as such. But because of the way the process is, it's already not happening. Like, this guy is a good dude. I've talked to him, and he's like, man, I'm like, my life is over. Like, that's the way he's.
And that's absolutely not what we'd want to see at all.
It's like, if you want it to be fairly, then behind closed doors, like, hey, we are going to review what you did, and we will dole out what we think, punishment accordingly. But it should be, even if they are going to dole out a punishment, it should be something that you can recover from. He's not recovering from what's happening right now. It's like his career is over. His name was put out there, his face is put out there. And so automatically I'm like, this dude is fighting an uphill battle right off the bat, which is why the Piper Foundation, we're like, dude, we're stepping in and make sure this guy is treated accordingly. Because I've already heard the conversations too, and I've seen snippets on the news it's mainly officers that are on there like, well, this guy went against, you can sit there and spout all that off, and you're making statements that you don't know all the details to. You don't know if this guy, what he did. When you look at the letter of the law, if what he did was illegal, you're just repeating what is told to you. Like, he acted and, he could have put troops at harm, and, and I just watched a 60 Minutes interview yesterday, and they were talking about this specific thing, and they were interviewing the guy that's going after Gannon. I think it was the prosecutor, but then they interviewed another guy. So this guy spouted off like he put people's lives in danger. He's saying whatever he can to like get people on his side and win the case. But then they interviewed another guy who had done a lot of research into these poly market bets, and he's like, this Gannon Van Dyke is such a small fry. Like, there are bets being made on the Iran war, on everything going on, up to $2.8 million right now. And he's like, and we are not, no one's outing these people who are somehow have access to classified information that are making all this money, and no one's going after them. So even after I heard that, I was like, oh, now I see what this is. They're using, again, what they do all the time is an enlisted man, hang him out to dry and use him as an example. So that is why, I mean, we're supporting him, and we're going to stand by him. And, all that we want to see happen is that he is treated fairly and accordingly, and he's going to get tried, and then it should be a fair and just outcome. But the process needs to be fair leading up to
100%, that. Yeah. And you've done much more research on it than I have, and I will.
But these are the like things that. But the reason I'm asking you, and it wasn't to like. I'm not trying to like set you up or anything. I'm doing it because you are going to be in a position when you do win. And these things do come up, and we, as a foundation, we're always looking to go to good congressmen and women that we trust, and that we're like, hey,
advocate.
We'll advocate for them, and especially if you go on the House of Armed Services Committee, and I've talked to numerous congressmen that have been on there, and to me, the House, House of Armed Services Committee is. They're there to make sure the right things are done.
Yes.
But they're also institutionalists at the same time.
They're supposed to be the civilian leadership of the military, and I don't think that's seen at all. Like, hey, stop seeing that you're subordinate to what these generals are telling you. You're not just funding them. You're not just their, bank, whatever. You're not just there to bankroll them.
No, you're a sounding board.
And you're not also just there to do whatever the Pentagon tells you to do, even if it's the same admin. Like, we're co-equal branches of government that are trying to work, and you are the closest to the people as a representative. So you need to, especially with this district being the most veteran densely populated district, 5 major bases here, you need to be that civilian voice controlling the military, making sure that the guys are taken care of, they're not getting screwed over by super mandates, that the veterans are getting the health care they need, things of that nature.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of, because I'm like, those are the battles that you'll be facing when you're up there, and then also being able to speak common sense to these admirals and generals and be like, hey man, or take a step back, like step out of your rank for a second and just look at how this is being handled, right? These are human beings that we're talking about, and I get it that you have to enforce the law under the UCMJ, but we also know that these laws are archaic at times, and there needs to be someone in there with some common sense to be like, does this really make sense the way we're punishing this individual or the way that we're going about this? And I'll tell you another reason that why I'm so adamant on supporting him, and I'm sure you can agree with this. I am so sick and tired of our service members being held to a higher or different standard than our politicians.
Yes, 100%. That is awful.
Yes, and it's like one of those things where we all like, oh yeah, politicians are corrupt, they're dirty, and insider trading. Shrug your shoulders.
No, do something about it. Like, do something about that.
And do something about it, but don't, punish another individual who you think is doing the exact same thing that you're doing, who you are alleging is doing the exact same thing that you're doing on a daily basis, but you would never walk 10 feet in that guy's shoes. Like, you would never volunteer to do what this guy has done, but yet you are going to sit there and try and destroy this man's life because really all you're doing is deflecting from what you are doing. And that is where I'm like, that needs to end. That needs to, like, and service members should be held to a standard. And
very high.
Like, get it all day long. But we cannot sit there and make that standard completely separate from what our politicians and the people running our government are doing.
I think you still see it as separate issues in some extent. Like you put out the hypocrisy of the politicians who are saying, hey, this dude totally screwed up, needs to be greatly punished while they're insider trading. You go after the insider trading, you make that stop, you put sure legislation for that. But at the same time, and I'd be curious as to what your foundation puts out, his lawyer puts out, as to how this didn't put anybody at threat.
Yeah.
Like if it's shown like, look, it didn't put anybody at threat. Okay, no harm, no foul. Minor administrative thing behind closed doors, unit level, whatever. I mean, if there's not a rule for it, then
you need to look into
just
it.
make the rule for it later. Hey, name the rule after the dude, like whatever. Like not really, but
yeah, I know what you're saying though.
But it's like you can't if he's especially as a Green Beret.
You can't oust him right away. And now it's like okay, so
make the example of the guy who didn't have when there wasn't a law in place, whereas you had even higher echelons of officers with like the shot mandate or with Afghanistan or
exactly
out there to screw dudes to make statements, right?
Yep.
No, I'm totally against that for sure.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean, I didn't think you weren't at all. I just wanted to like get your thoughts and also just give an example of kind of like the battles that we face through our foundation and like we're always turning to good dudes that are up there all the time.
No, I mean, totally want to, stand up for the individual's rights. And I mean, Matt Gaetz, he was just incredible. And he was a good example of how a civilian could be a representative in the most military district and still do well. Because he had multiple veterans within his district office. He had a military legislative assistant in the office. He's had me on interviews with him after getting out and would ask for advice on hearings, on legislation, et cetera. Yeah. He listened and he knew that there was a blind spot he had from not being a veteran. But he was smart enough to inform himself, whereas the current guy I'm running against, Jimmy Petronis, didn't even have a veteran on his staff until I challenged him in the primary and started calling him out on some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And you're not properly able to take care of the veterans in your district, the most veteran-densely populated district, if you don't have that in the first place.
How's that run going right now?
It's a grassroots run against establishment. That's basically what it is. It's like how can you mobilize the populace, people versus just like a lot of money and connections. I'm very, very happy. I mean, we've done really well, gotten just tons of petitions in, waiting to see if we can get the final numbers in to get on the ballot via petition versus via paying. So they get like 25, 56 certified petitions from voters, or you have to pay $10,500. Either way, we're moving forward and getting after it.
Good.
But just have a number of volunteers who are coming out, really trying to focus on military veterans, just period. And that's, the first kind of policy priority I have is taking care of them. And how can I do that? Just initially off the bat, doesn't even take any legislative action. Just hire veterans in your office. Just have them help people when they're doing their VA claims. To liaise with different agencies. And I've had people who've reached out to Petronis's office, haven't gotten any help, have come to me, and just through connections I have been able to get them the help they need. I mean, it doesn't matter how many billboards you have out in Pensacola. If you just don't have the staff, those subject matter experts, you're just not gonna be able to get it done.
Yeah.
But definitely hopeful going after it. I know it's a David versus Goliath thing, and
which is the battle that you want.
It's the battle you want. And you just have to do the right thing no matter what. It's a fight worth having. It's for the soul of our nation. It's for this district, which I absolutely love. So it's a good time, and we're not going to get there without God's help. But God can do amazing things and has pulled off even greater victories in the past. So, I mean, getting on your podcast, getting other podcasts, just getting the word out. I think if everybody knew that who Jimmy Petronis was and who John Frankman was when they went to the voting booth, I think we'd be able to win. The difficulty will be that name recognition.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of money buys. So he'll probably have 5-10 flyers put out. He'll probably say, hey, Trump endorsed me. Whereas I'm going to have an army of people going out, door knocking, putting out yard signs, doing that hard work, doing the long form podcast where I get asked difficult questions.
Yes. And just put in your soul, like, hey, here's who I am, instead of a scripted, like, bop, 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 bop.
Right. Yeah. Hey, stay to the line. Don't go outside of it. And
so, I've seen this. And dude, so we talked about earlier. I mean, it reminds me of Steve Toth, who just defeated Dan Crenshaw, and that was a whole David and Goliath thing as well. And he did exactly what you are doing. He refused to spend all this money or try and do all this stuff to, like, you know, combat against Dan. He just went door to door. I mean, he went on podcasts. He went and did, like, here I am. This is what I'm running on, and it paid dividends. And you know, Dan spent all this money trying to demonize Steve's character and, like, you know, attack him, and Steve was just like, I'm not doing that back. That's not who I am. And it ended up paying dividends in the end because, I mean, it was a landslide victory. And I always say, I'm like, dude, you really have to mess up if you are a Republican, a wounded combat vet in the state of Texas, and a Navy SEAL to boot, and you lost.
He did so many times.
You have to go out of your way to get. But at the same time, that is like you talked about, a David and Goliath election because Dan definitely, you know, he was huge. He's huge there. And
he's
looked at in a
very well known.
light.
He's one of the most highest name ID congressmen that we have. Yeah.
So I know that it can be done, man. And I'll definitely, and, you know, obviously we're going to put this episode out so people get to know you. And then I will also connect you, if need be, if you want to go on some bigger podcasts. I have a couple connections I can try and get you on there.
No, that'd be awesome. I really appreciate it.
I think that's what wins battles nowadays, man, is just uninterrupted content of, like, people get to know who you are and where you come from.
And we see that there is this battle in the Republican Party happening right now, where you have these really popular folks who are more backed by the people, but then you have a lot of establishment money coming out and supporting folks. Like we saw one of my favorite congressmen, Thomas Massey, who, you know, unfortunately lost earlier this week. And he is just such a good man. I reached out to his office in 2021, going through the whole COVID process, very responsive, met him in 23, stayed in touch, and just atrocious, right? But he has millions of dollars spent by foreign lobbyist groups, and it's just so we definitely need to stay active in the fight, get the word out, in order to make sure that our country, our party has, I don't know, representatives representing it who are actually listening to the voice of the people, not just special money interests and large donors.
And I think I think that's where the Republican Party is sort of imploding on itself right now, because there is that battle of, like, the special interests and everything. And then there's, you know, obviously a lot of rumors and everything, like who's controlling who and this and that. And we don't know everything for sure. What was your thoughts on Joe Kent?
I had talked to him when I got out of the military, just like connected with him, appreciated advice. And when he came out against the Iran war, I was skeptical at first, because what we were told last summer is that we completely, utterly destroyed the nuclear program when we bombed it. That's what we were told. Now we're here in 2026, and we're told that there still is a threat, and I just don't see that there's an imminent threat at this point from Iran. Some people respond, they've been an imminent threat for 46 years. Well, I'm like, hey, go get a dictionary, look up the definition of imminent. If they have been for 46 years, that's not what it means. So I think Joe Kent made a very brave and courageous decision in stepping out and leaving his role. And that took a lot of guts, right? So I think that right now, being involved in Iran isn't what we should be doing or should have initiated. Now that we're there, I hope that we can have a beneficial or a more positive situation coming out. They certainly are not our friend. They certainly have funded so many terrorist groups that have attacked us in the Middle East. I just think the better response would be if they shoot at our bases, send missiles, send 10 back. Just do that kind of more like commensurate response.
F around and find out, kind of like don't.
Right, but we're committing so much force out there when I really think that the big fight needs to be focused on getting ready for China, for the near peer. The Indo-PACOM area, I think, is the much more, and we don't want to be dragged into a longer war, because how long were we intended to be there? Did we think the Strait of Hormuz would still be closed this day? Were we anticipating these gas prices? I mean, economy comes back in a huge way, but also, to what point or when are we willing to put our service members' lives at risk?
Yes.
And I think about my buddies, and I'm like, I don't know if I would send out like Gabe or Joe or Tim or whoever to Iran right now, because I just don't think that imminent threat to just the defense of our country, our existence is
their
right
lives
now.
worth what we think is.
Yeah. So, I mean, but there's always some stuff that you don't know. But when Joe left, I thought he probably is a person who would know.
Yeah. I had mixed feelings because I know Joe. I've talked to him, and now he's a great guy. Nothing bad to say about him at all. I think he's a very just got a great head on his shoulders. He's very articulate. He's done above and beyond for this country, along with his deceased wife.
Yeah, sure.
I mean that alone, and just him going forward to continue to try and serve this country. I also was sort of like, dang, dude, like. You were in that position, and I get if you don't agree with what's going on, but as on a professional level, I would think like you still have more impact in that position. Like even if you disagree with what's going on, you can still make bigger strides still being in that position to try and make some change rather than quitting or leaving and then calling out. You know what I mean?
Well, and
I'm not saying I'm right in that thought. It's just that's where I was sort of like, dang, because and I know the reality of it. It's like, great, man, you made this big brave decision. You're like, I'm out, like this. I don't agree with what's going on, and I know that at a time it feels like this is a huge. It's the reality is, see ya.
Yeah,
we just replaced you with somebody else that is going to be in line with everything that we're doing, rather than. If you would have stayed in there, Joe, and had been the thorn in their heel and been like, hey, man, we need to make certain decisions. But I'm not blaming him for what he did. I'm not like saying you're but it just me thinking through it, I'm like.
Well, analogy, let's say that I knew that the shot mandate was wrong and was like, I'm just going to fake the shot. I'm just going to go out and teach ethics at West Point. I'll be in a position to better influence. Yeah. Maybe I'll have a greater impact doing that, staying in the force. And it's almost impossible to calculate, and that's kind of like where him and hopefully praying to God really helped inform that decision. Yeah, where potentially him stepping out and making that big stand, if that's truly what he believed, and if we believe that position was right, would have been the right decision. So sometimes, I mean, it got so many views, and obviously and that's a fault of our culture is we have
everything's based off
just such quick news cycles. Everybody forgets,
and then it disappears the next week.
But it certainly did draw a lot of attention, and it is creating somewhat of a movement.
It did, it did. It definitely created a rift, and I appreciate that analogy that you just said too, as far as like, hey, if I would have just faked the shot, and like, what difference would I have made?
I don't know. A lot of SEALs did, a lot of Green Berets.
Oh yeah,
did.
I think team guys are going to do what team guys do.
Yeah. Like, when the shots got to the medical level, like when we were getting counseled, and then like the medic comes in and like, hey, can I ask the officer to leave? I'm like, yeah, I know it's going down.
Wink.
Whatever, dude. Like it's
and hey, do what you got to do, man. And like, there's nothing. I mean, I don't know how many guys were getting caught with the fake vax cards and all that. But it's like, hey, dude, guys in special operations, there were. You can call us outside the box thinkers or problem solvers. I'm like, bro, we all have it in a authority defiance complex. And we are going to, like, if we don't agree with what you're doing, we're just going to skirt around and do. Well,
my team sergeant was surprised. He's like, this is the first time they're ever telling me to do something and actually making me do it. Like, usually it's you tell me to do something dumb. I ask why. I say maybe we shouldn't. But for this, it's like turn off your critical thinking and just go. Like, it was something. But yeah.
Well, great, man. I mean, dude, I'm so glad that we got to have you on. I mean, I'm definitely going to continue to follow your progress. And then also I'd love to have you back on at some point, maybe later on, right before the election comes
that would
out,
be amazing,
just to talk more about your journey and everything that you are doing and striving for.
Thank you. I know we got really into like history and stuff like that.
No, dude, it was great. It was a great conversation, man.
You vote for the person, not just the platforms too. But no, I appreciate you having me on. Absolutely.
Yeah, brother. Anytime.
That you and your foundation do. So.
Yep. And then I'll be, like I said, I'll connect you. I'll try and connect you with some other bigger podcasts that I know that you guys would love to have you on because, dude, I said it before during the interview. You are what the military needs in a leader. And by that, I mean, dude, you standing up and going against the grain when everybody else is telling you to do the opposite, and you standing up for what is right, not only for yourself, but for the men below you. Like, I love the fact that you brought your guys in and like, all right, what do you guys think about this? And when they're like, I think everybody was pretty much on the same page. You took that stance and you're like, okay, then this is the way we're going forward, and I'm going to shield you guys from everything that is probably going to come down here for us taking this stance. So, I mean, just thank you for being the leader that you are. Especially, I mean, you were a junior officer comparison,
right?
In the big scheme of things, and I just think that took a lot of bravery, courage, and I know you will continue to do that as you get up into the halls of Congress, and that those are the exact people that we need up there.
Well, yeah, thanks so much for your support. Please pray for me. Have your listeners pray for me, and they can check out my website, frankmanforflorida.com. It has my policy positions, donation link, merch site, things like that. But
nice.
Yeah,
we'll put that link below.
Yeah, appreciate
when we put this out.
Excellent.
Awesome, brother.
Hey, God bless. Thanks for having me.
God bless you, man. All right.
Yeah.
Out.